If you were to go look at my Patreon profile right now at the time that I'm filming this, you would see that I'm earning $1,198 a month. That's over $1,000 to spend on cosplay materials, music video production, and other projects, right? Unfortunately, no. It isn't that simple. And since it's my top priority to run Patreon with transparency, I want to walk you through what actually happens with that money, so you know where your pledges are going and why they're so important to me. So let's go back to that $1,198 a month. We're gonna round it down to $1,000 for the sake of this video just to make the math easy. Right off the bat, before any other expenses come into the picture, we have to think about taxes. Between federal income tax, state income tax, and self-employment tax, a freelancer could end up owing anywhere from 25 to 40% of their income in taxes. That means, to be safe, I put 30% of that money away immediately. That's $300 that I can't touch at all. That leaves me with $700, but I can't use that money on cosplay expenses yet. First, I have to think about Patreon rewards. Everyone in my Apprentice and Jedi Knight tiers get mailed rewards, including photo prints and Polaroids. About 25% of my upper tier patrons are international, which means more expensive shipping. Between the costs of the actual rewards like prints and Polaroids, the cost of envelopes, and the cost of shipping, I spend about $90 a month. Plus, I buy address labels as well as thank you cards and other little surprises and trinkets for my Jedi Knight patrons every single month. That means we can round up reward spending to just about $100. So now we're at $600, almost halfway through the money, and we're finally ready to start using it on cosplay projects and videos. If I need a new wig for a costume, that's usually around $40 to $60, although sometimes I can reuse an old one and other times I get wigs sponsored. Fabrics, trims, and accessories can vary in cost, but my major costumes usually come out costing between $100 and $300. Let's assume an average cosplay that I do need a new wig for, so $50 for a wig and $200 for other materials. Now we have $350 left. I often shoot my own images to avoid this, but if I am shooting the month's costume with a photographer, then I have to pay that photographer. Plus, in order to send prints to my patrons, I often have to pay for print rights. Prices vary between photographers, but let's assume I paid $100 for the shoot and $40 for the print rights to one image. Now we're down to $210. Does that sound like enough for a music video? Because most of the time it isn't. Even if I already have the costume covered, music videos require props and sets. I do my best to borrow or thrift as much as I can, but even on my least expensive videos, I still end up spending some money. On a smaller video, that might just be $20 or $30, but on a bigger project, it could be hundreds. In this case, let's estimate a conservative $70. For parodies and covers, I'm not legally allowed to sell singles unless I own full rights to both the instrumental and the vocals. That's why I pay my friend Blake to arrange and create the background tracks and then mix and master the final audio. He gives me a great friend discount, but that's still $80 per song. Oh, and putting a cover onto iTunes, Spotify, etc. requires paying for a mechanical license, which gives me the rights to redistribute copyrighted material. And that costs $10 per song. And what about the video itself? I don't have a dedicated cinematographer, and although sometimes I just shoot the video myself with a tripod, on more complicated videos that isn't always possible. I've been very lucky to work with some cinematographers who are interested enough in my concepts that they're basically willing to work for tips. I try to tip cinematographers at least $50 a day, which is not even close to what a professional deserves for that many hours of labor, but as you can see, my budget by this point is getting pretty tight. Some of my shoots are just one day, although bigger ones can be two. Let's assume this is a one-day shoot, which puts me squarely at $0. And that's not even to mention the times when I want to bring a guest star from another state, or when I need to replace my business cards, or when I need a new table banner for conventions, or when I need to invest in equipment for video or audio or photography. Now, I don't make a new music video every month, and as you can see, a lot of these costs are variable, so it's not like I'm ending every single month in the red. But I want to be clear that my current Patreon earnings are just barely enough for me to be doing what I'm doing. And I want to keep doing bigger and better work, but I can only do so much with a budget this size. Take a hint, the music video that I just released cost me almost $1,000 to make. Most of that just came out of my pockets because Patreon couldn't cover it. My DSLR camera that I shoot all of my photo and video on died a few months ago. I've been borrowing a friend's until I can afford to replace it, but that's going to cost me upwards of $1,000 too. To a random passerby, it might look like I could afford either of those things with just 1 month's Patreon earnings, but now you see that it's not that simple. I tell you this because it's important to me that you understand where your money is going and why I ask for more money every time I propose a new milestone goal. I tell you this because maybe you're thinking of starting your own Patreon. I also tell you this because so far I've oriented my milestone goals around what will benefit you, my followers. More music videos and cool collaborations, but it's becoming increasingly likely that my next few milestone goals will probably need to be directed more towards equipment, like replacing my camera and putting together a better continuous lighting setup. These kind of goals aren't sexy, but they will make my cosplay and videos better, and they will certainly make my work easier. Thanks for listening, and I hope that this sheds some light on the Patreon process. If you want to pledge, you can find my profile at patreon.com/JennyD.
Hey, Virginia.
Yeah?
Your voice is cute.
Oh, thanks.